This video wraps up our consumer mathematics unit. The last thing we're going to look at is mortgages and amortization tables. Before we jump in, I want to make sure that we know some important vocabulary with respect to mortgages. Mortgages are a whole different beast when it comes to getting and borrowing money to buy houses or other property. If you have purchased a house, you're probably going to be like, yeah, I got this. But if you have not, this might be new information that you've never heard before. So let's start off on the left with just the definition of what is a mortgage. So a mortgage is a long-term loan where property is security for the payment of the difference between the down payment and the sale price. So long-term, this means over a long period of time. Typically, mortgages are around 30 years. They can be 40. Sometimes they're 15, and sometimes they're 20. Okay, but the most common ones are actually probably a 30-year financed mortgage and a 15-year financed mortgage. Now, there are different types of mortgages. First one would be a conventional loan or a conventional mortgage. That would be a fixed interest rate mortgage where the interest rate is set for the entire period of the loan. Okay, whereas the other type, which we're not going to focus on, but they do exist, are variable or adjustable rate loans, where the interest rate can actually change during each period. So you might have a conventional interest rate that's a 5% interest rate on your mortgage compared to a variable interest rate that might start off at 4.5%. And 0.5% might not sound like very much, but the cost of houses is so significantly large that 0.5% can have a huge impact on your total amount that you spend on paying off your house in the long term, okay, or in the long run. However, a variable adjustable rate loan can change. The interest rate can change. So at the end of the first or second or third period, they will assess what are the interest rates looking like at that period of time. And you might get really lucky, and maybe interest rates have gone down, and maybe your interest rate will go down to like 3.8%, and you'll save more money. But it is also possible that interest rates might have gone up. And so you would go from a 4.5% interest rate to possibly like a 6.2% interest rate. And the biggest concern with that is if your interest rate increases so much that you can't afford your minimum payments or your mortgage payments each month, then you could actually lose your house. So it depends. You can probably tell by the way that I talk about this that I'm not a risk taker. So I would probably be more geared towards getting a fixed interest rate loan because I wouldn't want any surprises to happen over the next 5 to 7 years and find out that all of a sudden I might not be able to make my payments anymore. But that's just me. Everybody is different. We can't predict the future though, so you never know what might happen with those new interest rates. Okay. Anyway, so that's the different types of mortgages there are. There are also other types of mortgages. If you are a veteran, you might have had or heard of a VA loan for mortgages. There are also other types of mortgages or opportunities if you're a first-time home buyer. And so there's lots of different kind of variables that can change how you would approach the mathematics behind your mortgage. Okay, but the next big vocabulary word we want to address is a down payment. A down payment is a percent of the purchase price that is due at the closing. It is due to the seller at the closing. I personally have never purchased a house, but my mother was a realtor, and so I remember people coming to our house because she was a private realtor. She owned her own company, and I remember them spending hours signing all the paperwork. Okay, so when you come to house closing, you have to sign all the paperwork for the mortgage, which you're going to have to sign your name over and over and over and over again. But then you also have to make sure that you have the money to pay the closing costs, the down payment. You have to have a lot of different forms of payment to different people at that closing. Okay, so it's not money that you can loan at that point. You have to have it in that moment at the closing to hand to the seller. Now, of course, we're not necessarily handing off cash. Most of us aren't, at least. Some people are, but most people are not just handing over cash. You would need to have a cashier's check to hand over to the seller. Another concept that I'm going to bring up is the idea of points. Points is a type of interest that actually gets prepaid to your bank or your mortgage financer. You pay that up front so that it can reduce the amount of interest that you pay on your mortgage. So the rule of thumb is that 1 point equals 1% of the principal. Okay, so not the sale price, but the principal on the loan. And so if you prepay that, it can decrease the actual interest rate that you would have on your mortgage. Then we have two more kind of concepts we want to address. The first one is what is your gross monthly income? So your gross monthly income is your take-home income before deductions. And then your adjusted monthly income is that gross monthly income minus any debt payments with more than 10 monthly payments remaining. The reason why it's 10 monthly payments is that dead set rule of thumb is because anything more than that is considered a long-term loan. So if you have a child and you purchase braces for them and it's like going to be $2,500 over 5 months, that's not considered a long-term debt. But if you choose a payment plan for that where you're paying for the braces over the course of, let's say, 2 years, then that would be considered a long-term debt. And so your adjusted monthly income is actually determined by how much you take home each month minus any long-term debts. So we have another magic number, and this magic number is 28%. And so if you look at the second bullet point, we have the loan payment, property taxes, and homeowner's insurance must be less than or equal to 28% of the adjusted monthly income. The reasoning behind that is because it's understood that if your cost of living to pay your rent or your mortgage is greater than 28%, then it is highly likely that you will not have enough money to survive and you will fall behind in your payments. And so your cost of your mortgage, when your loan payment, your property taxes, and your homeowner's insurance must be less than or equal to 28% of your adjusted monthly income. And so what we're going to do is we're going to look at a couple of examples and we're going to figure out these individuals' adjusted monthly income, what 28% of their adjusted monthly income would be, the total monthly payment for them, including their mortgage payment, principal and interest, property taxes, and homeowner's insurance, and whether or not they would qualify for the mortgage. We start here with the Gunthers. The Gunthers' gross monthly income is $3,200, and they have 25 remaining car payments of $335. The mortgage payment is $1,186.19, and taxes and insurance are $225. We start off by finding what's their adjusted monthly income. So that would be their gross monthly income, $3,200, and we would take away their monthly car payment of $335. We end up getting $2,865 is their adjusted monthly income. So then we find what is 28% of $2,865. Just looking at this, we can see that the 28% is already too little to cover the mortgage payment. So mortgage and insurance combined would be the $1,186.19 plus the $225. But we already know that that's going to be greater than the $802.20 that we have as our 28%. So these people would not qualify for their mortgage. Let's check the Martins. The Martins' gross monthly income is $7,250. They have 23 remaining car payments of $225 and 17 remaining monthly payments of $175 on their daughter's braces. They also have 11 remaining monthly payments of $45 on furniture. The mortgage is $1,408.11. Property taxes and homeowners insurance are $165 and $115 respectively. So first thing we need to do is we need to find their adjusted gross income. So we have to take their their adjusted monthly income. So we take their gross income, which is $7,250, and we need to subtract 225, 175, and 45. So this gives us, their adjusted monthly income is $6,805. So we take that and we multiply that by 28%. We can write it as a decimal to do that multiplication. And we're going to find out what their 28% of their adjusted monthly income is. We end up getting that 28% of their adjusted monthly income is $1,905.40. So as long as the mortgage plus the homeowner's insurance plus the taxes and homeowner's insurance are less than $1,905.40, then they would be approved. So let's add it up. We have $1,408.11. $165 are my property taxes, and $115 is the homeowner's insurance. So we add all that up. Their cost of the mortgage plus property taxes plus homeowner's insurance is $1,688.11, which is less than the 28%, and so therefore, yes, they would qualify. Okay, so since $1,688.11 is less than $1,905.40, they do qualify for the mortgage. I want to point out that this magic value right here, this $1,905.40, that 28% of their adjusted monthly income, is kind of a number that the bank says that is the maximum amount of mortgage payment plus property taxes plus homeowners insurance that we believe that you can afford. Okay. Now, if you are right there, you might be flirting with a little bit of trouble because that's a very large percentage of your monthly income. But if you have some wiggle room, you can actually figure out what percentage of your adjusted monthly income your mortgage is by taking that value, $1,688.11, and dividing it by your adjusted monthly income. And you would find out what percentage that is. But I guess my point is that number right here is the bank's number that they say that's the maximum we think that you can afford. Okay, try the next example on your own, and we're going to move on and actually look at the Martins with their actual house that they want to purchase. So, the Martins are buying a house that's selling for $249,000. The bank requires a 15% down payment. She must pay 2 points at the closing. So, we need to figure out how much is the required down payment, what's the amount on the mortgage, and what's the amount paid for the, in this case, 2 points. To find the down payment, we take 15% of the cost of the house and we multiply those together. So then we get that the down payment needs to be $37,350. So then to find the amount for the mortgage, which would also be the principal, we take the cost of the house. I'm going to do this in a different color. We're going to take the cost of the house and subtract the down payment, because the down payment gets paid to the seller at closing. Okay, so then what's left on the cost of the house, or what remains, will be what your mortgage is. Going to be $211,650. Okay, so that is going to be the principal for our mortgage. To find the amount paid for the 2 points, we're going to find 2%, because 2 points corresponds to 2% of the principal. Let's think about this for a second. What if we wanted to figure out how much the monthly payment would be for the mortgage if our mortgage were a 30-year mortgage with a fixed interest rate at 7%? Okay, here's how we would determine that monthly payment. We would say, going back to our previous examples and our previous videos, payment is equal to the principal times compounded per year, all over 1 minus the quantity 1 plus that ratio to the negative in t power, where t is time in years. So we can actually figure out how much the monthly mortgage payment would be. Let's do that. I'm going to do this in red. I'm actually going to say, okay, well, my monthly payment for my mortgage will be the principal, which was that $211,650 over my interest rate, 0.07, divided by 12, because we make 12 monthly payments in a year, all over 1 minus the quantity 1 plus 0.07 over 12. That quantity raised to the negative 12 times 30, which indicates how many total payments you're going to make. If you have a 30-year loan and you make 12 payments a year because you pay monthly, that's going to mean that you pay 360 payments on this mortgage. Okay, so putting this all in our calculator, monthly payment would be $1,408.11, $1,408.11. That's just the mortgage payment. That wouldn't include the property taxes and the homeowners insurance. Okay, so let's say if their property tax and homeowners insurance were $475, I would add that to that monthly payment and get that they need they need to have an adjusted monthly income greater than $1,883.11 in order to purchase this home. So they would, the Martins are the Martins from before, and they have the adjusted monthly income of $1,905 and some change. Then they would have enough to cover and to qualify for that mortgage. Let's take a moment to think about the total cost that the Martins would be spending on this house. Now, that's not a question in the notes, but it might come up, and it's actually important to understand that these long-term loans can have a big impact on how much you actually pay for the house. So, The Martins are paying that $37,350 for their down payment. Okay. They are paying the monthly payment for their mortgage for 360 months. So we take this $1,408.11 and we're going to multiply that by 360 because that's how many times they're going to pay that if they just pay that required monthly payment. Okay. Then they also had to pay the $4,233 to the bank. So, not considering the homeowner's insurance and possible property taxes, if we just look at the things that I've boxed in yellow with that multiplication of the monthly payments plus the down payment plus the points, so we end up, or the Martins end up paying $548,502.60. Remember, the original cost of the house was $249,000. So the Martins are essentially paying with interest and across this long-term period of time, they're paying essentially double or more than double of what they paid for or what the sale price of the house was. Okay, so if you ever purchase a house, or if you are already a homeowner, if you are able to pay more down on your principal each month and can afford to pay extra on your principal, you could potentially pay off your mortgage early and then save possibly hundreds of thousands of dollars or at least tens of thousands of dollars on interest. Now, you also want to make sure that that's allowed for your type of loan, because I know that my husband and I have had car loans before where you were not allowed to pay off the loan early. Or if you did, you received like penalties and had to pay, I guess, like I would say a fine. Okay. But just be mindful that if you are paying just the monthly payments and right on the nose, the monthly payments, this is the total amount that you spend on the house. And that's not even including that $475 each month that you pay for property taxes and homeowners insurance. So these concepts are insanely in depth, and there's a lot to mortgages. We want to make sure that you understand them before you hop in and get into something that could be very confusing. The last part of this section is looking at amortization tables. And simply put, this is a table that shows you how making your scheduled payments chips away at your loan or your mortgage over time. One thing to note about this is that your scheduled monthly payment is always the same, but we can figure out how much of that payment actually is applied to interest and how much is chipping away at the actual principal of the account. So we might actually want to start this thinking about before we even make payments, after 1 month, and after 2 months, and then after 3 months. Okay. Our loan balance at the beginning for this problem, we're told we are financing a home with $120,000 30-year fixed rate mortgage at 4.5%. And our monthly payment is $608. So our loan balance at the beginning, we don't have to pay any interest. We haven't paid any principal, but our loan balance is the whole amount. So that's our zero payment. We haven't started paying it yet. I just wanted to start off with what is our loan balance. So then looking at our first payment. Well, our first payment is going to be $608. But we need to figure out how much of that is paid on interest, and what's left would then be put towards the principal. So looking at our interest rate for our mortgage, it's 4.5%. but that's an annual mortgage rate, interest rate, and so we need to take that 4.5% and divide it by 12. So I rewrite it as a decimal and then divide by 12, and that's going to give us our interest rate for each month that we will owe. So our loan balance is $120,000, but we are having to pay interest on that. So we'll find the value that actually represents that interest. So we use our interest equals principal times rate times time. Time in this case is 1 month, so it's 120,000 times our rate, which is 4.5% divided by 12, times 1, technically, which gives us $450. So our interest that we pay on that first payment is $450. Our principal, or the amount that gets applied to the principal paid, is what's left over when I subtract that from my monthly payment. So I take $608 and I subtract $450 and I end up with $158. So that first payment that I make goes majority towards interest and a little bit towards the principal. I'm also going to make sure I label these top columns. This is interest paid, and then this is principal paid. And then we got to figure out what our loan balance is now. Subtract that $158 from the loan balance. So $120,000 minus $158, which gives us $119,842 as our loan balance. So essentially we keep doing this. We're going to keep having a monthly payment of $608, but we're going to find the interest not on the original loan balance, but the interest on the remaining loan balance. So instead of using $120,000, we're going to take our interest rate and multiply it by our new loan balance. So let's do that. So our interest is now $449.41. So we subtract that from $608 to figure out how much is then applied to the principal. So we end up getting that the amount that's paid towards the principal is $158.59. We then subtract that from our loan balance to find out what our new loan balance is. Subtracting the $158.59 from $119,842 gives us a loan balance at the end of the second payment of $119,683.41. Okay, we can do this one more time with the payment 3. I'm going to do this off screen because this is getting a little bit long, and then you can check your answer with me. So go ahead and check your answer. Now, the cool thing about this is that we have very powerful computer software systems that can actually do these calculations for us. Some people even set these up just in Excel, but you can find tables that would solve and fill in the correct values for you if you were a person who dealt with mortgages on a regular and daily basis. There will be one more video on these tables. It will have one example. It will be short. I'm thinking 5 minutes. I know this one went really long, but I wanted to try and get it all in one, but I can't. So I will have one really short example in the next video.